ladies and gentlemen, let me start by asking you a question. What would you do if the very people you expected to cheer for you were the first ones to doubt you? Because here's the truth: success is not born in the applause, it's born in the silence of doubt, in the whispers that say, you can't, and in the resistance that dares you to prove otherwise. See, everybody loves a winner, but very few love a struggler. And when you're still building, when your dream is still in seed form, you're going to hear the critics, you're going to see the doubters, and you're going to feel the pressure. But let me drop this on you: doubt is not your enemy, it's your training partner. When people doubt you, the natural instinct is to get discouraged, to wonder if maybe they're right, maybe the dream is too big, maybe you're reaching too far. But here's the truth: most people never understand doubt is not a signal to quit. It's a signal you're on the right track. If your dream doesn't scare people a little bit, it's probably not big enough to matter. Nobody doubts mediocrity. Nobody wastes energy criticizing small plans. Doubt only shows up when you're reaching for something greater than the average person thinks is possible. And that's your clue, your confirmation that you're working on something bigger than yourself. Think about it. If you told someone you wanted to play it safe, stay in the same job forever, and never try anything bold, nobody would doubt you. They would nod their head, pat you on the back, and say, that makes sense. But the moment you say, I want to start my own business, I want to create financial freedom, I want to live a life of impact, I want to build something that outlives me, suddenly the room changes. The silence gets heavy. The questions start coming. Are you sure that's realistic? What if you fail? Who do you think you are? That's not proof that you can't do it. That's proof you're aiming for something extraordinary. Doubt is often disguised as concern, but really it's just a reflection of someone else's limitations. When people doubt you, they're not actually describing your capacity. They're revealing their own. They can't see it for themselves, so they can't imagine it for you. But here's the hook. The fact that they can't see it has nothing to do with your ability to achieve it. The size of your dream is too large to fit inside the frame of their perspective. And you don't shrink the dream to match their frame. You expand your mindset until the dream becomes your reality. Every great innovator, every great leader, every person who changed history faced doubt. Edison was told the light bulb was impossible. The Wright brothers were mocked for believing humans could fly. Oprah was told she wasn't fit for television. They didn't let doubt bury their dream. They let it water the seed of determination. If they had waited for universal belief, we wouldn't have the world we live in today. Your dream requires the same kind of stubborn faith. You've got to be willing to move forward when no one claps, when no one agrees, and when no one sees what you see. Here's where most people lose. They mistake doubt for danger. Just because someone doubts you doesn't mean you're in the wrong direction. It means you've stepped onto a path they've never walked. And new paths always look risky to the untrained eye. But to the visionary, risk is just the price of greatness. The very fact that others doubt you is the evidence that you're walking where few people are willing to go. And if few are willing to go, then few will ever experience the reward that waits at the end. So instead of shrinking when people doubt you, stand taller. Instead of questioning your ability, question the smallness of their vision. Instead of letting their words weaken you, let them remind you that you're building something bold. Because doubt is not the enemy of destiny. It is the announcement that destiny is close. Every doubt thrown at you is an invisible sign that says, you're on the right track, keep going. And here's the final hook to remember. Doubt only shows up when greatness is on the line. So the next time someone raises an eyebrow, questions your sanity, or tries to talk you out of it, don't get offended. Get excited. That's the universe whispering, congratulations, you're chasing something worth fighting for. One of the biggest traps people fall into when they're chasing success is wasting time trying to convince everyone else to believe in their dream. They spend hours explaining, defending, justifying, hoping that if they talk long enough or passionately enough, the doubters will finally change their minds. But here's the reality. You don't need their belief to succeed, and their doubt doesn't disqualify your destiny. Success has never been about who agrees with you. It's always been about who executes consistently. People don't follow explanations, they follow evidence. They don't respect what you promise, they respect what you produce. And until you produce, everything you say is just noise in the marketplace of ideas. You've probably noticed that when you share your vision, not everyone responds with enthusiasm. Some will smile politely, others will question you, and a few might even laugh outright. And that's where most people get stuck. They feel the need to go into debate mode, to defend every angle, to try and prove that their dream is logical and realistic. But understand this, dreams aren't logical. They don't fit into neat little boxes. They're supposed to sound unreasonable to the average person, because if it were easy to grasp, everyone would already be doing it. The hook is this: your energy is too valuable to spend it convincing people who are committed to misunderstanding you. Save that energy for execution. When you execute, you shift the conversation. Instead of saying, one day I'll start that business, start the business and let the results speak. Instead of saying, I'm going to write a book, write the book and hold it in your hand. Instead of promising, I'll get in shape, show up month after month until the transformation is undeniable. Explanations make people nod politely. Execution makes people pay attention. And nothing silences doubt faster than tangible progress. Think about the greats we admire. Did Steve Jobs spend his time convincing people that the iPhone was possible, or did he show them by creating it? Did Elon Musk argue endlessly with critics about electric cars, or did he build Tesla until the critics had no choice but to acknowledge it? The pattern is always the same. Extraordinary people trade arguments for action. They don't talk circles around their vision. They bring their vision full circle through execution. And when the evidence shows up, even the loudest doubters get quiet. Here's another truth you need to lock into your mind. Explanations will never satisfy people who are determined not to believe you. You could have the most well thought out plan, the most passionate pitch, and the clearest reasoning, and still someone will find a way to dismiss it. Why? Because their doubt is not about your idea, it's about their mindset. You're trying to make them see something their eyes weren't built to see. Stop selling the dream to people who've already decided to live without one. Your vision wasn't given to them, it was given to you. So act on it, even if you have to act alone. And here's the hook that will change your life. If you grab it, execution is the only language success understands. The marketplace doesn't pay you for what you said you would do. It pays you for what you actually did. No investor writes checks for promises. They write checks for performance. No audience claps for intentions. They clap for impact. So if you want respect, if you want credibility, if you want influence, you've got to stop trying to explain yourself into validation and start executing yourself into transformation. So the next time you feel tempted to sit someone down and convince them to believe in you, pause and remember this: your results will be the most persuasive speech you'll ever deliver. Don't talk them into believing. Show them something they can't deny. And by the time you succeed, you won't need their validation anyway. They'll either celebrate with you or stand in awe of what you built while they were still doubting. Either way, execution wins every time. There is a season of success that most people will never see because it doesn't come with applause, recognition, or attention. It's the season of silence. It's the grind behind the scenes when no one is clapping for you, when no one is checking in on your progress, when nobody even notices what you're building. This is where champions are born. People often think greatness comes in the spotlight, but the truth is the spotlight only reveals what was already forged in the dark. The question is not, can you shine when everyone is watching? The real question is, can you keep going when no one is? Because that's where the strength that sustains success is developed. Most people crave instant validation. They want likes, comments, and recognition at every step. But here's the problem with that. If you need to be celebrated before you produce, you'll never produce anything worth celebrating. The silence tests your commitment. It asks you, are you doing this because you want approval, or are you doing this because it's your calling? When nobody is around to cheer you on, that's when you find out if you're really serious. If you can discipline yourself in the quiet, you'll be unstoppable in the noise. Think about the greatest athletes. Their victories weren't built on the championship stage. They were built in the lonely hours of training, in the early mornings when it was just them and their routine, no cameras, no audience, no awards. The same is true in business, relationships, health, every area of life. What you do in silence is the seed. What you harvest in public is the fruit. Too many people want the fruit without planting the seed. They want the recognition without the repetition. But the hook is this: repetition and silence is the rent you pay for success in the spotlight. When you build in silence, you also build resilience. The absence of applause forces you to rely on something deeper, your purpose. If all you have is external motivation, the moment it disappears, you'll quit. But when your motivation is internal, when it's driven by vision and not validation, nothing can stop you. That's why the silence is a gift. It teaches you to anchor yourself in your mission, not in the mood of the crowd. It makes you stronger, tougher, more consistent, because you're no longer performing for approval. You're producing from conviction. There will be days when you feel invisible, when your progress looks small, when it feels like nobody cares. That's when you've got to remind yourself that invisibility is not insignificance. Just because people don't see it doesn't mean it doesn't matter. Just because it's quiet doesn't mean it's not powerful. The seed grows underground before it ever breaks through the soil. The foundation of a building is laid where no one can see it. But it's the very thing that keeps the structure standing. So don't despise the silence. It's proof you're still in the planting stage, and planting always precedes harvest. Here's the hook: if you can master the silence, you'll never be shaken by the noise. Because once you've proven to yourself that you can stay consistent with no applause, no recognition, and no spotlight, what happens when the spotlight finally comes? You're ready. You don't crumble under pressure because you've already been tested in obscurity. You don't need validation because you've already validated yourself through discipline. You don't seek approval because you've already built confidence. That's why the silence is sacred. It shapes you into someone who doesn't just achieve success, but can actually sustain it. So the next time you feel overlooked or forgotten, don't let it discourage you. Let it fuel you. Tell yourself, this is my season of building. This is my time to prepare. This is where my foundation gets solid. Because when the world finally notices, when the results become undeniable, you won't just be another person who got lucky. You'll be someone who built strength in silence. And that strength will carry you far beyond the applause. Every time someone tells you you can't, you are handed one of the most powerful resources you will ever receive: fuel. The mistake most people make is they take those words personally and allow them to become heavy, like chains holding them back. But the truth is, doubt doesn't have to be an anchor. It can be a rocket booster if you know how to convert it. The very words that were designed to discourage, you can become the very fire that drives you. The only question is whether you will choke on the smoke of their doubt or burn it as the fuel for your determination. There's a reason why the most successful people in the world often have a story that begins with rejection, dismissal, or mockery. Michael Jordan was told he wasn't good enough to make the varsity basketball team. Walt Disney was told he lacked imagination. J.K. Rowling was rejected by publisher after publisher before Harry Potter became a global phenomenon. What these individuals understood, whether consciously or not, was that the no's and the you can'ts weren't stop signs. They were sparks. Each doubt lit a new fire. Each rejection added another log to the furnace. And eventually, that fire burned hotter than the voices that tried to put it out. Here's the hook. Every you can't is really an invitation to say, watch me. Doubt gives you an audience you didn't even ask for. When someone bets against you, they're unintentionally becoming a spectator to your success story. Their disbelief sets the stage for your breakthrough, because when you rise, the impact is magnified. If everyone believed in you from the start, your success would be expected. But when you succeed in the face of doubt, your victory becomes undeniable. The key is learning how to flip the switch. Instead of absorbing doubt as poison, you turn it into power. That requires a shift in mindset. When someone doubts you, don't internalize it as a reflection of your worth. Instead, interpret it as proof that you are aiming for something beyond the ordinary. People only doubt what they don't understand. They only dismiss what exceeds their own imagination. So when they say, it can't be done, what they're really saying is, I can't see myself doing it. And that's fine, because it was never their vision to see. It was yours. This is why you have to train yourself to respond differently. Most people hear doubt and they stop. The successful hear doubt and they sprint. They use the sting as motivation to push harder, go longer, stay focused, and prove not just to others, but to themselves that they are capable of more than anyone imagined. Doubt becomes the resistance that builds the muscle. Just like a kite only rises when it faces the wind, you only rise when you face the opposition head on. Without resistance, there is no lift. Without doubters, there is no drive. And here's something powerful to remember: doubters are temporary, but the results you create are permanent. Their words will fade, but your achievements will last. Years from now, nobody will remember who said you couldn't. They will only remember that you did. That's the beauty of turning doubt into drive. It transforms temporary negativity into lasting legacy. The very comments that try to bury you become the backdrop for the story that inspires others. So the next time someone looks you in the eye and says, I don't think you can do it, Don't argue, don't defend, and don't retreat. Just smile and say to yourself, thank you for the fuel. Then go to work. Because nothing silences doubt like undeniable progress, and nothing turns critics into believers like consistent results. Every "you can't" is simply the universe giving you one more reason to rise higher. And when you do, the very people who doubted you will have no choice but to admit that their words became the wind beneath your wings. Most people underestimate the quiet power of consistency. They want quick results, instant recognition, and overnight transformation, but life doesn't reward those who sprint for a moment. It rewards those who endure for a season. Consistency is the invisible force that outlasts doubt, outperforms talent, and outshines even the best opportunities. It doesn't always look exciting. It doesn't always feel glamorous. But make no mistake, it is the secret weapon of every person who has ever achieved greatness. The hook is this: doubters may question your ability once, but they cannot ignore your persistence when it shows up again and again, day after day, long after they expected you to quit. There's something undeniable about a person who refuses to stop showing up. Think about it. Most people talk about what they're going to do, and then they vanish after the first obstacle. Others take a few steps forward but lose focus when it gets hard. But when someone keeps showing up, keeps producing, keeps moving forward, even in the face of resistance, they eventually separate themselves from the crowd. Consistency doesn't just silence critics, it confuses them. They don't understand why you haven't quit yet, why you're still standing, why you keep growing stronger when the odds seem stacked against you. That confusion eventually turns into respect because consistency speaks a language that everyone understands: commitment. Here's the truth: success is rarely about one big leap. It's about hundreds, sometimes thousands, of small steps taken with relentless commitment. Every day you show up, even when it feels like nothing is happening, you're laying another brick in the foundation. And over time, those bricks create a structure so strong that no amount of doubt can tear it down. That's why consistency is more powerful than talent. Talent might open the door, but consistency is what keeps the door from closing. Talent can give you a moment, but consistency will give you a lifetime. Think about athletes who stay at the top of their game for decades. They're not the ones who just had natural ability. They're the ones who kept training when the cameras were off, kept practicing when the season was over, kept refining their craft when nobody was watching. Or consider entrepreneurs who turned small ideas into empires. They didn't just hit one lucky break. They built systems, worked tirelessly, and showed up every single day to refine their vision until it became reality. That's the hook you can't forget. Consistency doesn't make you lucky, it makes you inevitable. And here's why consistency defeats doubt. People expect enthusiasm to fade. They expect excitement to wear off. They expect you to quit when things get difficult. Doubt thrives on inconsistency because inconsistency proves their point. But when you keep showing up, when you keep pressing forward regardless of circumstances, you take away their argument. Your persistence outlives their criticism. Eventually, the conversation shifts from "you can't" to "how did you?" That shift happens not because of one bold move, but because of countless small acts of consistency. But consistency is not just about proving people wrong, it's about proving yourself right. Every day you keep going, you reinforce your own belief, you build trust with yourself. You learn that you are reliable, that you can depend on your own discipline. And once you trust yourself, the opinions of doubters lose their grip. Consistency doesn't just change how others see you, It changes how you see you. It transforms your identity from someone who tries to someone who becomes. So remember this. Doubt may be loud in the beginning, but consistency has the final word. You don't have to argue. You don't have to explain. Just keep showing up. Keep building. Keep moving forward, even if the progress feels small. Because over time, those small steps become unstoppable momentum. And when the results finally show, they won't just silence the doubters. They'll inspire the next generation to believe that consistency, not luck, is what truly guarantees success. There comes a point in your journey where words no longer matter, where explanations no longer carry weight, and where the debates finally lose their relevance. That point is reached when your results speak. You see, success is the one voice nobody can argue with. People can doubt your ideas. They can question your motives. They can criticize your methods. But they cannot deny the evidence of results. Results are louder than rejection. Results are louder than ridicule. Results are louder than every "you can't" that has ever been thrown your way. And when you commit to producing results, you don't need to clap back at the doubters. The success you create will do all the talking for you. That's why the wisest use of your energy is not to argue with people, but to build something they cannot dismiss. You don't silence doubt with explanations, you silence it with evidence. Imagine someone saying you can't run a marathon, and instead of arguing, you just show up on race day and cross the finish line. Imagine someone telling you you'll never build a business, and instead of defending yourself, you just build it brick by brick until the day comes when it stands tall in front of them. There is no comeback more powerful than results, because results make silence louder than any words could. Here's the hook. Success doesn't just shut doubters up. It forces them to rewrite their own story about you. The same people who once said, "It can't be done," will later claim, "I knew they would make it." Success doesn't just change your life, it changes the narrative others tell about you. And when that happens, you'll realize something powerful. You never needed their belief in the first place. All you ever needed was the courage to persist long enough for your results to show. But results don't show up overnight. That's why most people never reach the point where their success speaks for itself. They quit too early, long before the evidence has a chance to build. You can't plant a seed today and expect fruit tomorrow. Growth takes time, and so does credibility. The doubters are loud in the beginning because there's nothing visible to contradict them yet. That's the season where your job is not to respond with words, but to respond with work. Every hour you invest, every skill you sharpen, every step you take toward your vision is a silent vote for the future you're creating. And when those results finally come, they carry a weight that no criticism can outweigh. Think about the stories of people who were once laughed at, entrepreneurs who went bankrupt before creating billion-dollar companies, artists who were rejected before producing masterpieces, athletes who were overlooked before breaking records. Their success didn't just make money or win medals, it rewrote the script. The world stopped seeing them through the lens of doubt and started seeing them through the lens of proof. And proof is irresistible. This is why you should never waste time proving yourself with words. Words are fragile. They can be dismissed, twisted, ignored. But results are undeniable. They stand like a monument that says, "I was here, I did this, and nothing you said could stop me." When you produce results, you don't just quiet the doubters. You inspire the dreamers. You become living evidence that what once looked impossible is in fact achievable. And that influence is far greater than any argument you could have ever made. So the next time someone questions your vision, don't argue, don't defend, and don't shrink back. Just keep working. Let the progress accumulate until it turns into momentum. And let that momentum carry you until the results become too big to ignore. Because once the results are visible, the same mouths that doubted will have no choice but to fall silent. And that silence will be sweeter than any applause, because it will remind you of this truth: success speaks louder than doubt ever could.